Freedom Island. I gotta get myself calmed down some. Evandro's gotta go. And he asked me, should he not go? And should he stay here with me? And I said, no, that's all right. Go ahead. He said, go ahead and turn on as many lights in the house as what would make me feel safe. And I did. You know, we're careful about the electric bill, but just this one time, I did turn on almost every light. Not every one. I turned on one in almost every room. It did make me feel safer. I got to get used to it. I wanted to do this mission. You know, I knew I couldn't get anybody else to help me. I mean, I didn't know I'd run into Evandro and he's helping me. But, you know, I had made up my mind to the very beginning that I either had to be brave and do it or not be brave and not do it. I knew Uncle Boyce and them goons was nobody to fool with. I know what they're like. You grow up around where we grew up and stuff is real. People think they want to be in a big action movie or they think they want a lot of excitement. Excitement ain't good. You don't want excitement. Excitement gets out of hand very quick and it turns into violence and people getting hurt or worse. So we grew up around it. We knew what it was. And so we take it serious. You know, when there's a scrap, when there's a problem, when somebody says they're going to go home and get a gun and come back, it's time to make yourself scarce because they mean it. Somebody says they're going to pay you back, they mean it. Somebody gives you a hard look and they don't say nothing, but you know what they're saying in their eyes. They mean it. They're just waiting for their opportunity, but it's not something that's going to blow over. It's going to come round. So I knew it was real. But there's a point where if people don't stop these bullies where they're at, it's going to get so bad that it isn't going to be a stoppable thing. It's going to be hard to stop it the way it is now. It's going to be a long, hard way to get this kind of crazy stuff stopped, but at least it could be stopped. But if we don't do something about it pretty quick, we ain't going to be able to get it stopped. There won't be no stopping it. Police will be scared of them. Military will be scared of them. All the officials will be scared of them. There won't be nobody that can stand up to them. So I got to show like that I'm brave, even if I don't feel brave. I got to show that I'm brave and don't go crying and running home just because I had a very bad, scary day. So I'm going to sit in here, in the kitchen here, and I'm going to open up. I've got 2 or 3 of my NA books that I brought with me, and they've got some good chapters in here on fear and self-care and all the things that you can do to keep from using when you don't feel in a good place. And that's everything that I need. And I'm glad I started going back to meetings again because I really needed it. I wish I hadn't had that little lapse where I got too busy and I didn't go. I really needed to go to meetings. And I'm glad I'm going again. And it reminded me that I had my books in my travel bag and I got them out. And I'm just going to sit here and I got a pencil and I'm going to mark down the parts that I feel like is special to look over again. And that'll make the time pass. Well, the FBI came over, and I did get kind of rattled. Evandro and I talked it over when we knew they were going to come in the morning. I had got a phone call where we had put that thing on the internet to the Illinois State Police about how we had some recordings of what was going on over at the work center and so on. I couldn't say much because you just had to type in a certain amount in a little box for the message. So I said the best I could, you know, and they just gave you 300 words or something like that. And then I got an automated phone call that went through. I didn't pick up because I was taking a shower. And when I got out, they had left a message, and it was the FBI basically. And they said that they had gotten this information from the state police, and so it had been transferred to them, and they was going to send somebody out and to expect the person to come over in the morning, and then it kind of had like a robot voice, and it said 10:30 a.m. like that. And then they gave you a number if you wasn't going to be there or you needed to reschedule the time or something. It said to go ahead and call this number to do that. And I thought I just as soon like just have him come and talk to him. You know, I was nervous. Of course I was nervous. But as Evandra was saying to me when I was real freaked out after, you know, I put the stuff on the website, and then I thought, what have I done? And then he said, this is what you came here to do. And he's right, it is. So I decided to be brave and follow through and all that. So we talked it over, Evandra and me, and we decided the best thing to do was have him just not be at the house, at Vivian's house with me, because he's not documented. And what if what we said didn't like agree with each other? They didn't understand what he was trying to tell them, or you could see how me being related to Boyce and then me having had some run-ins with law and the rest of the family has and so on. You don't want to be perceived like that you're on the wrong side of things and maybe just trying to bail yourself out. Maybe you're up to something and you're trying to start some kind of a ruse or some kind of a misdirection or something like that. You don't want them to think they might be looking at you. You know, I hadn't met the people yet, but you know, whoever they sent over, even if me and Evandra was just having our usual miscommunication and not understanding each other, it's just normal every day, you could see how they might be thinking that we was trying to get our story straight or something like that. So the best thing for him was just to go on over to the church, open up the community center, deal with everything over there. He's always behind. There's always stuff to do over there. There wouldn't be no hour he could go that would be too early, that there is not already impending, you know, minor disasters that has managed to happen just since he closed up and locked the door, you know, the night before. So he went in to see what all was going on there. And he said, did I mind to just, you know, face the agents coming over by myself? And I said, no, I have not done nothing wrong. I have done nothing wrong. I'm gonna just be calm. And if I get in trouble and something bad happens to me because I was trying to stop Boyce from his crazy behavior, maybe that'll be what'll happen. Maybe I'll get in trouble and I'll get in the newspaper and maybe a lawyer will get me out. And maybe then they'll tell my story and maybe that's how I'll help. And he looked very worried. And I said, I don't want that, Evandra. I'm not going to try to make that happen. That ain't what I want. But I'm just saying, I'm just going to have to get on this like runaway train that I've already jumped on. And it's just rolling, rolling, rolling. Wherever does it take me, that is where I have got to go. So I'm just going to trust. Because, see, that's the thing with Boyce and all them is don't trust the government. The government's trying to get you. It's all a conspiracy. It's all a plot against you and all that. I don't believe in none of that stuff. I'm not wild enthusiastic about the government sometimes because I have run into issues and problems and stuff like that, especially more as you get like more closer to like the city and everyday life and all that. You know, I'm not one that's dotted every I and crossed every T and done everything I was supposed to do. And, you know, I'm not sure there's that many people that would really realize that I am as much patriotic as a lot of these people that runs up and down the street with a flag in their hand or whatever they do, put a flag pin on their shirt and call it good or whatever. I care about what happens to our country. And I don't think the whole country and the whole government is trying to get me. That's just crazy thinking. And that's what these Looney Tune people is trying to make people think is their own government's trying to get them. And It's just not so. I know it's not. Considering some of the situations I have been in and how little really, when you think about it, I always feel like they persecute me and pick on me, but they could have been a lot more worse to me, believe me. I got a fair shake some of the time, and then sometimes people didn't want to listen and didn't want to hear, but it wasn't because they was trying to get me, like evil conspiracy. It was just because lazy, tired, mean people, or people that's not very good at their job. It's not a job. Dealing with people's day-to-day, everyday problems is not a very good job. It don't pay good. It's problematic. And you can see how it wouldn't always attract people that's like the most caring, smartest, hardest working people. Sometimes they just got to get whoever they can get to drag your butt to your probation hearing or be your caseworker or whatever. Sometimes they just got to get whoever they can get to do it. And if they don't treat you good, that's more like a one-on-one, one-person situation, not the whole government trying to get me, Once you start thinking that way, well, you just get cuckoo, and I don't want to be cuckoo. Speaking of cuckoo, it was the clocks going off. I was mentioning the last time I did one of these journal things that Vivian loves birds, and she bought 3 or 4 of these clocks. I think 1 or 2 of them was like a Help the Birds, Audubon or something. I think she bought a couple at Big Lots. And I don't know, she might have bought one mail order. I'm not sure where they all come from. They're not all the same. They all got a wooden frame on them, around them, and then they got different birds on them. And some of them sounds more real than other ones. When it gets to be a certain hour, they sing whatever is the song of, that meadow bird or whatever it is. And it's different birds. And then I don't know if she set them at intervals because she wanted them to sing at different times, or if she just didn't go around to keep all her batteries charged up, or I don't know what happened. But there's different clocks here, and they sing bird songs at different times. It's not always right on the hour. And then sometimes if there's a 5 o'clock bird in one room, then the 5 o'clock bird will start chirping and tweeting and stuff 3-4 minutes later in another room. And me and Evandra has just got used to it. I guess we could take the batteries out, but we didn't want to fool with it. It's Vivian's clocks, and she wants to have bird clocks. We just kind of got used to it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it was a cuckoo bird, but it was some kind of bird that was chirpy, chirpy, chirpy kind of thing that already got me rattled and nervous when the FBI came over. They just came over in like parka coats. I kind of thought they would have on more like official, not like they're going to come over and like kick the door in and hold their gun in both hands and have FBI on the back of their, jacket and all that. It wasn't like that. I didn't even realize the FBI agents was already at the front porch because the bird clocks was going off. One had just quit in the dining room, and then one was going off in my bedroom, which is also my office. And it kind of covered up that they were trying to peck on the door. The downside of not having called when we got the automatic call that they were going to come over unless we called and canceled. Well, because I didn't call, I didn't have no way to tell them to come to the side door, because, of course, our front door is all messed up, where somebody was trying to bash it down one time before I came to this house, Vivian's house. Somebody had took a motorcycle and was backing it up the steps and tried to bang the door down by backing up into it with the big wheel of the motorcycle because he was drunk. Big surprise. The door will open up, but we don't hardly ever use it, and it's a big kind of ordeal to get it open. It probably ain't very safe because we got some stuff in front of it. We really ought to clear that in case, we'd ever catch a house on fire and need to get out, but that's another day. So I heard the clocks, and then I thought I was hearing like a woodpecker or something, and then I realized, it ain't the bird clock. Somebody's at the door, and I thought, oh, of course they've gone around the front. So I come out the side because we go in and out. Me and Evandro go in and out by the kitchen door. That was where I very first met him. He was standing in the kitchen door talking to me, and I was wandering around in the driveway trying to figure out what was going on at Vivian's house. So that's a door we use along the side. I come out toward the front of the house, and then I see them up on the front porch, and it's cold. It's still cold in Detroit. It's supposed to be spring, but it don't feel like spring. And they both had parka coats on, and then they had on it was a woman and a man, and the woman had on a white blouse and dark blue pants, and so did the man, had a shirt and dark blue pants. And then he had a regular necktie, and she had one of them little, like airline pilot or whatever. Sometimes women will have those little ties that just goes up around where the knot of the tie would be, like a crisscross. So she had one of them. I looked at them, and like I was saying, they didn't have no FBI jacket or anything like that on. They was just wearing regular coats. But, they kind of had their uniform thing on. And I thought, well, they're either Jehovah's Witness or the FBI. But since we had the appointment time, I figured it was the FBI. So I said that I was Bethany and sorry about the door, and could they come around the side? And they said yes, and they just came in normal. We went through the kitchen and then, down the hall, and as I was kind of passing from the kitchen out to the rest of the house, I asked them, would they like a cup of coffee or something? And they were polite and said no. And then I thought, oh, I bet you they don't eat or drink nothing when they go to somebody's house to take a witness statement or do whatever, because what if you're some kind of crazy poisoner or something like that? And then I thought, here you got the FBI in your house, and you're thinking thoughts about crazy poison and stuff, but you're going to get a weird look on your face. I was already, nervous anyway, and then any minute now, one of these bird clocks is going to go off. I feel like I got a weird look on my face, and then I got them settled down in the front room in some chairs, and then I kind of looked around at the house, and I thought, oh, it is a little bit cluttered looking. Evandro's got the extra boxes of paperwork that he's brought home from the church and from the community center and stuff, and he kind of gathers. He's like a gatherer, and it's not hoarding, it's nothing as bad as that, but he does kind of let stuff kind of build up a pile up. And I kind of looked around and I thought, oh, I guess maybe I should have moved a little bit of this. I'm used to it. I just kind of step around it, So I was kind of looking at that. So I was already nervous all those ways. And then I look up and I seen the man looking at the picture of Evandro's mother that is hanging on the wall. And you can tell she's a different race than I am, obviously. And then he looked up at the picture. He was thinking about it because it probably wasn't my relative. He was probably wondering, was it Vivian's relative or something? He probably wasn't thinking anything bad or good about it. He was just kind of looking up and thinking, oh, here's this lady up on the wall. And don't even ask me why I said this, but I said, she's documented. Now, why? I mean, it's true, she's documented. Evandro's mother's documented, but of all the things to say, didn't nobody ask me what her status was or who she was or nothing. And here I sound like I'm defensive and bringing up immigration status right away. Just, oh. So if they've been in the house 5 minutes, I'm already pretty much thinking this is not going the way I had wanted it to go. I mean, I don't know what I did want, but this wasn't it. But they both just kind of smiled when I said that, and I thought, well, I guess they're used to people being nervous. They had tablets. They both had like a computer tablet, and both of them asked me, could they record? I guess they was both recording. And they both said, I'm going to read you well, they weren't talking at the same time, but like, she was getting hers out, he was getting his out. She started telling the first part, then he started telling the second part. So they weren't talking in unison, you know what I mean? They was just both corroborating each other. And the gist of it was that he was going to read a statement, and then And then they wanted me to say I agreed. And so they said, for the purposes of this visit, we need to record, our visit with you today. We will be asking you about information, and all the information will be confidential and not shared with anyone else, but it will become part of the official, like the FBI records, and it will then belong to the government, and it will not be able to be accessed by you or anyone else. It belongs to us. Now, if whatever is said that we recorded, do you agree with allowing that, was basically the idea. And I said, I agree. I was nodding, which is stupid because you can't hear that on the tape, or not tape, but on the digital, on the tablet. So then that was good. So we got that part done. And then the woman agent said, we got this referral from the state police, and there was some information on your form, but we didn't get the full information. You have audio recordings of something that concerns you, and you felt that you needed to bring it to the attention of authorities, was what she was more or less saying. And I said, yes. And then I said, do you want me to tell you all of the things of how I started figuring this out and starting the recording, or do you want me to just tell you about the recording part first, and then you ask me the rest of it? And they said, and the man said, why don't you go ahead and tell us whatever you feel is appropriate in the order that makes sense to you, and then we will just ask you questions. And I said, okay, that is good. And I said, all right, so it is my uncle that I am worried about. And they were, typing on their computers. I think they had the recording thing going, but they was also making notes and things like that. So I said, I have an uncle, and he is at the work release center here, getting ready to be paroled out from prison. And he's supposed to be learning work skills and all these things. And I said, I was living in Indianapolis, and then it came to my attention that he was on the internet, and he had these other people that he was talking with, and I could see that they was making some kind of a group or some kind of a plan, and I was scared they was going to blow something up or take guns somewhere or something like that. And then they asked me some questions about why did I think that, and I said about how Boyce had been in jail before and in prison, and that he has got political, and I felt awkward because, both the people that come, well, I couldn't tell if that guy was black or not, but I thought he probably was, and the woman was Asian, and then I felt like here I was talking about these racial things, and I was kind of embarrassed, but then I thought, well, they know all about this, that this is what their job is, what their life is what their day experience is, that, they're not like little children, they know how it is. So I just said, he don't like people that's not white, and there's a lot of people like that, that's scary, and, there's ones that talk, and then there's ones that's more than just talk, and I think he might be one that's more than talk. I thought he might be one that was more than talk. And so then I come up here, my friend had a house up here, and I came up here to see if I could maybe find out more about it. And they said, you were coming up here to contact authorities? Kind of in this way. I didn't know if they meant that's what they thought I should have done, or if they were asking me that's what I did. And I said, that's probably what I should have done. And then I had a long time where I was thinking. And then I said, is it all right if I get a drink of water? And they said, of course. I said, can I bring you water? And they said, no, thank you, no, thank you. So I went and got water from the kitchen, and I come back, and I sat down, and I took a little sip of my water, and I said, you might already know this. I don't know what you can look up on your computer and everything. And I said, but I have got drug convictions. And I didn't think that if I went to someone like in the law enforcement or whatever, and then I couldn't really even think of what else to say, but they was nodding like they could understand what I was saying. So I said, so I think another person that didn't have them problems would have maybe just tried to come up and talk to somebody up here about what was going on maybe. But I was thinking, and then the woman said, you wanted to have something that you wanted to gather some facts, or you wanted to observe so that you felt like you could bring something that would get more attention or make someone regard what you were saying as being more credible. And I said, that is exactly what it is. I wasn't going to try to, go in there and take over myself or, anything crazy like that. I just wanted to find out if I could notice anything. And it was hard to find out anything because I didn't want to get too close. I didn't really even know. I didn't know how to try to get evidence. But then I was just lucky because they was talking in these walkie-talkies. And they both said walkie-talkies. Like they didn't get that part. Apparently I didn't write down about walkie-talkies in the form thing that I filled out. So then I had to explain about that part. And then I said, how like sometimes if you could get a drive-through thing or order or like a truck that's got like a CB or sometimes you can hear other people's car phone will kind of broadcast outside their car, like you can hear what they're saying outside the car. And I don't know if it's the car that's broadcasting it out or if it's like picking up like on a store PA or something like that. But sometimes you can kind of hear, and they nodded like, they either could understand what I was saying or they were just trying to encourage me to move along with my words. I don't know which one. So I said, so that's what happened to me. They was talking on walkie-talkies and I was just trying to see when did they come out in the yard and go back in the building. And, I was trying to make some notes of who I saw that was there and who was talking to who and stuff like that. I didn't think I would ever be able to hear him because I was too far away and everything, like I was like, and they said, so this was, and I said, oh, we borrowed the van. And I said, my housemate, we both work at my housemate, we both volunteer over at the community center at the church. And so we were able to, borrow the church van, sign it out. And so we brought that over and they said and I said, well, my housemate drove it over there, which was not true. So I'm already lying to the FBI, but I had thought about this because I don't have no driver's license. Mine's expired. And I said, my driver's license needs renewed. And so, my housemate would drive me over and then I would sit in the car and make my notes and stuff like that. And he would just, walk back. It's not that far. And I would sit in the van because it was cold. I couldn't sit outside, and then I was making notes and stuff and I had the radio on. Then when I was going in between stations, that's where I could hear and I started to make the walkie-talkie, noise. And unfortunately, after already saying all this stupid stuff to the FBI, at least I didn't make my imitation of a walkie-talkie, so I will give myself some points for that. So I am telling them about the walkie-talkies and about how I recorded it, and I've got the thumb drive where I've put on the tapes and stuff, and I gave it to the woman agent. I said, that's an Audacity. Like, I started explaining what an MP3 was, but she, like, There I go again. So she didn't know what an MP3 was, and she said, thank you. And then I said, I have backups on the laptop. Do you need to take the laptop? I don't think so, she said. And she looked at the man, and he shook his head, and she said, you're not being investigated, you are reporting. So we don't have any right to take your possessions or take anything of yours unless you willingly give it to us, because you are not being charged with anything or being investigated. And I said, okay, that's good. That's good. So, and she said, we will have to keep this USB. And I said, that's all right. I don't need anything. There's nothing else on there. That's just the files that we wanted you to have. And I said, oh gosh, I said, we again, whatever. And then I looked at the young man, and he was looking at that picture of Evandra's mom again. And I thought, why is he trying to figure out if my housemate's undocumented, or if Vivian's undocumented, or even if I'm undocumented, even if I don't seem like I might be or something? And then he said, pause recording. The other woman clicked her thing, and they both turned off their tablet for a minute. And then I thought, oh no, what's this going to be about? He said to me, she's a nurse. And I said, yes, when he was pointing to Evandra's mom's picture. And he said, she helped my mother. And I just looked at him like, and kind of lifted my eyebrows a little bit. He said, my mother was so cold in the emergency room. We thought she had had a stroke, and she hadn't, but she was confused, and it was something about her medications, but we didn't know. We were having her in there to have them do tests to see if she had had a stroke. He said they had to wait because apparently it was a bad night. It had been like an icy night, and there had been a lot of car accidents, and those people got to go first, the trauma people and everything, and so his mom had to just wait for hours. And she kept being cold and telling people she was cold. And then he said, this lady went out to her car and she had a Snoopy blanket. And I said, oh, she loves Snoopy. She's got everything Snoopy. And he said, yeah. And she went and got a Snoopy blanket, a fleece blanket, and she brought it in and put it over my mother. And I thought, okay, that was so good. This is such a good thing, because I've been sitting here just sweating bullets thinking, I haven't said Evandra's name because it sounds foreign. I've been worried that they was going to ask me if he was documented, or where he was from, or where he was at, or why he wasn't here. And I didn't want to lie and get in trouble, but I didn't want to get him all embroiled. And I thought, he does not care where anybody is from. He is not here to call ice on nobody. This guy knows a nice nurse when he sees one. And I said, well, I'm very glad that, she could see that your mother needed the help. And I said, how is your mother now? And he said, she's very well, thank you. She's had her medication adjustment, and the symptoms went away, and she had not had a stroke, and we're very blessed. And I said, that is a blessing. And then they turned their microphone, their recording back on again. Then there really wasn't anything else for me to say. They just said that they had to take this recordings, and again, that it was all belonged to the government now, and that I was going to get some kind of a thing that was affirming that I had spoken to them, and did I have anything else I needed to add, or was there anything I needed to correct or something like that, that I could do that there was a way to get hold of them. They gave me like a couple papers, and they said if there's anything that I forgot to say, or anything that was different than what I had said because I had made a mistake, and what they meant was I lying, or covering up, or changed my mind. They're very nice about it, but that's what they meant. I still had time to amend what I said. And I said, okay, that was good. And then I said, now what's going to happen? And they said that they were field agents, and that they were not really the people that go up through all the ways that they take these reports. But the woman agent said they take these things seriously, and this is not something that is overlooked in light of, I don't remember what she was saying, recent events or the news or I don't remember what she said, but what she was talking about was all that carrying on where before they had the inauguration and everything, when they was counting the votes and all that stuff, the people had been rioting and carrying flags, and the government was hiding I don't remember if it was the senators or the House of Representatives or somebody was hiding because they was getting chased around by these crazy people and everything. That's what she was talking about. And she was saying since that had happened, they had special things that they had opened up and they was investigating, and that they had more ways to process all of these things. So that was pretty much everything. They said, thank you. And then they went out, and I didn't know, would I ever know anything else? I mean, I didn't think I was going to get a letter from whoever's in charge of the FBI. Dear Bethany, thank you so much. And I was kind of mixed because I kind of wanted to know more or understand what would happen more. But I also kind of didn't want to ever see them again because I didn't have nothing else to add or nothing else I knew. The only thing I had was them recordings that was on the radio of the walkie-talkies of what they was talking about. I didn't really have no skills or no knowledge or, I was not an advisor to the FBI. It was just my job to tell what I saw and what I heard, and I already done that part. So more folderol and more chit-chatting with them was more likely to, I don't know, make it more complicated in my life. So here I'd been just going on and doing all these things. And then I thought, maybe this is just all that's going to happen with it. I just turn it in. I'm done. I never hear nothing. And what was that movie? Was it Men in Black or something? And they took, was that the one? Or was it Ghostbusters? I think it was Men in Black. And they took the information, and the forklift took all the boxes with all the information into some warehouse, and they put it way in the back of some warehouse on the third shelf from the bottom. And the secret information was lost forever, in this giant warehouse. That's kind of what I was expecting to do. But I thought, well, at least Yvonne's okay. I'm all right. We didn't get in trouble. It wasn't as bad as what I thought it was, even though I was nervous as could be and everything. And I thought that would be the end of it. So for 3-4 days, I just kind of wandered around thinking, well, that was kind of a fizzle a little bit at the end, because I guess I had kind of wanted a more dramatic moment, like you are done. But, sometimes you don't get that. You just do what you got to do, and then that's the last you hear of it. So I made peace with that and started thinking about, what was next. One of the things that was next was that Yvonne and I had to get kind of sorted out about who was going to be in what room, whose room was who was sleeping where our stuff was going to be, whether I was going to get more stuff, assuming I was going to be staying in Vivian's house for a while with Yvonne. Then I didn't hardly have any stuff with me for me to get more stuff, like more clothes and things like that. Like, he was going to need to make a little more room for me in the house, because there was a lot of Yvonne's stuff he had kind of accumulated and brought home from the church and so on. And then he'd gotten kind of rattled when I came to the house, and he had been trying to move to that other house. He had packed some stuff and then kind of unpacked some stuff. So he was kind of in a jumble that didn't have nothing to do with all my surveillance and all that stuff. This was just his own life. When you're kind of poor and got a lot going on, and you're a volunteer, and you're also trying to deal with all your immigration paperwork and his family and just everything he was dealing with, he hadn't had time to attend to things. So we was kind of working together a little bit to move things here and there and putting a bureau here and dragging a table over there and everything. And we were in the kitchen, and Vivian had an old portable TV, one of them little ones, but it weighed about 30 pounds or something. It's supposed to be a compact, but it's real heavy. It was nice. And she had it in the kitchen. She used to watch Oprah and stuff in the kitchen back in the day. and we had it on. We was actually getting ready to watch Wheel of Fortune, which we both like, and the news was on before Wheel of Fortune, and we was gathering up some of these boxes and stuff that was piled up in the kitchen to try to figure out where to put those. And then there was a news bulletin, like right before they're getting ready to do Wheel of Fortune. Sometimes if there's new news that came on while the news had already got started, then they'll say late breaking headline, blah, 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 and then they're going to tell you there's going to be more news about it at bedtime. And that's what this was. And so there was like a little red ribbon thing at the bottom of the TV, and it said federal probe against hate group in work center. And I thought, what? And I looked up and I seen Uncle Boyce. He was recognizable, like I was recording the other day. He's got pockmarked cheeks from being scarred when he was a teenager, and he had that like bad acne, so his skin was scarred a little bit. And he's got a little head, big body, glasses, mean eyes. He's recognizable. Like if you've seen Uncle Boyce, you know you've seen him, and there he was. And I looked up, and he was handcuffed. There was 3 or 4 other tattoo on their neck, hair cut real short, mean-looking, weaselly-looking guys that was also behind him, and they was being loaded into a van. And I said, Evandro, look. He looked up, and he seen what I was pointing at, and he wouldn't know Uncle Boyce from anything. He never seen him. I was the one that was at the prison. I'm the one that grew up with him. He don't know what Uncle Boyce looked like, but he could see how it said federal probe, work center closed down, investigation against hate group and all that stuff. He could see that part that was scrolling through on that ribbon. And he said, justice. You got justice. And I said, we got justice. And he said, America is good. And I said, America is good.